So after an optimistic start last episode, adding more chemical reactors and processing around the base, we soon discovered after a trip to the moon that our AE system was no longer viable. In other words, it now draws more power than we can sustainably feed it. So we are going to have to buff the power infrastructure before we can keep adding automation around the base. And that is pretty much going to mean a full redesign and rebuild of our benzene system here, which for us at this point in the game is like 20 episodes old by now. This system right here has carried us through the early game for sure. So we have the machines, we crafted these at the end of last episode. I think there's still one or two more we have to craft, fluid extractors. But I've been working on a location for this whole thing. And we mentioned that we want to place it on the northwestern side, so over here somewhere. Plans have changed though, slightly between episodes, and the new plan is to put it underneath the base. So down here we have ore processing, right? So recently we've spent quite a while under here, and we have ore processing on the southwestern side. I would like to put benzene on the southeastern side, and the idea is that we have a more or less identical room as we do at ore processing on the opposite side. As you can see though, this thing is like pretty much solid through here, right? So we've got a lot of digging to do. And I would also like it symmetrical so that the staircases line up here. There should be another one through this wall. Yeah, right here. I think it's going to take a very long time to make it symmetrical, especially without a schematic. But if we want to make a schematic... That was very loud thunder. If we want to make a schematic, then we have to flip the selection, right? Otherwise, the whole thing is going to be backwards, and this wall is going to be against the inside wall of the valley. For some reason in GTNH, you cannot flip a selection. Even though there's a button here for it, I really don't know how to do this. It's always grayed out. No matter how much you click this thing. And if we're going to do this, I definitely want a schematic to work from. I did come up with an idea though earlier on today. So I installed World Edit and took a backup of the world and went into single player. This way we could copy our selection, and there is a flip command in World Edit when you're selecting. And then paste the flipped selection, making sure that everything lined up. Now there is some issues with this selection. It doesn't like to paste the slabs, especially the ones that are vertical. So I had to go in and fix those, all the machines we have to remove. I did eventually fix all those issues now though. We're back in the server here, the main world we play on. There is unfortunately no world edit here. That's basically cheating, right? So we do have to build this manually. However, now that we have a creative copy of the world, we were able to get a schematic from there with the room in the correct orientation. And this way we should be able to build the room, thank you Thumbcraft. We should be able to build the room, I wouldn't say easy, but definitely easier than if we have to keep flying back and forth to make sure it's symmetrical. So yeah, now that we have all of that established, it's time to start the grind for this episode. Here we go. Alright, well, a couple of hours later, we can cry when it's over, but it's but it's not over yet. This is just the beginning. So, as you can see here, the room is mostly built. We are missing a few basalt bricks on the end there, again. And we have the invasion of the bats, again. The build overall, though, turned out pretty well. I'm really happy with it. I didn't want an exact copy of the one at ore processing, right? Because that's kind of boring. So there's some variation. We don't have the catwalk in the middle. And the staircase is... Well, it's not really a staircase, it's just a step down. And we put in this yellow stained clay. This is secretly becoming one of my favourite blocks in the game. It's such an underrated block. I think it works very well in here. And it goes well with the tiny bit of yellow that's in the redstone lamps. I think it works very well. Not sure about the blue in here though. I might end up switching the blue colour. But for now, we keep it. For now, we need to get these machines operational. So I think for the most part, I've got it all figured out. But there's still some things which I'm uncertain. These bats are gonna... These bats all day long, they're gonna be here. Yeah, so there's a few things we have to figure out here, but that's kind of half the fun. So I kind of wanted you guys with me. So just to recap, what we're trying to do here is make benzene. The first step is to make nitrogen in a centrifuge. The nitrogen has to be sent through a coke oven with logs, and we get charcoal and wood tar. The charcoal we can send through a fluid extractor, and we get ashes and more wood tar. And then all the wood tar we want to send through distillation towers. Yes, multiple distillation towers. Circuit 1, and we get mostly benzene, but we also get a few other things here as well. So yeah, we need to handle multiple different fluids, a few different machines, and just the one voltage tier. It's all going to be EV. So if we come over here to the ore processing room, you can see here we have this wiring tunnel, which feeds applied energistics and also power down here. And that runs underneath the floor and then joins the rainbow wiring tunnel underneath here. You can see that pink cable is the power cable. I built a similar thing in the new room over this side. So as you can see here, this is the power cable, which feeds down. And this is a brand new wiring tunnel right here. So this is LUV power. We want to color this all green. And you guys know me with the wiring tunnels, right? It has to be all nice and neat. We have to plan space for all the wires. Yeah, all of this is LUV, and then it gets to a transformer, turns into IV, and then another transformer, high amp transformer, into EV. And then we're sending 16 amp EV cable. Yeah, all of our EV cables are pink. We could have technically went for like 4x cable in some of these places, but I mean, aluminium at this point in the game isn't really that big of an issue, right? So just to be safe, we'll stick with the 16x cable. The second thing is applied energistics. So we have a connection here, which feeds the tanks, this tank benzene, which feeds all the turbines. We should be able to just extend this Fluix cable along. And this is our subnet connection, right? So we want to have a P2P on the end. Let's go underneath here. Let's go down a level. Yeah, we'll do something like this, extend this along. And then we'll put the P2P right around... Actually, let's put it one further down. Let's put the P2P right here. And I've already made a brand new connection actually on the controller, which should be called Benzene Southeast right here. We can bind to this. This should give us 32 channels right here. Alright, so we've went ahead and built the first machine, the Centrifuge. We've built these things many times before. The only difference with this one is we're going to run air. So we're going to introduce the air intake hatches, which will passively draw in air as long as there's a free block space above it. We'll add 2 for the centrifuge right here. And that should just keep the inputs full. Multi-block did form, that is a good sign. It looks pretty cool actually with the particles there. The middle one of course is the muffler hatch, which is required. And then there's going to be 2 outputs for this, right? It's going to be oxygen and nitrogen. As with any other fluid output that we have on our machines nowadays, we're going to use applied energistics to send it to main fluid storage. So we're going to use P2P tunnels, convert these over to fluid variants, and we'll run these down the side here. Hold on, are we going to have more than 8 channels down here? Do we need dense cable all the way down? I don't think we do, right? It's just going to be... There's going to be less than 8 channels. Remember, dense cable is 32 channels and regular Fluix cable is 8 channels. So we can get away with the cheaper cable down this end. And we can plug in these new P2Ps right here. We can take the advanced memory card, and the first one is going to be for oxygen. You guys get the gist of this by now, right? It never gets old though for me. I find this so fun. Yep, so the first one is oxygen. We want to make sure we lock oxygen here, because the P2Ps themselves are not filtered, so we have to make sure the insertion is filtered. Where's oxygen? Here. Second one is going to be for nitrogen, and then also bind the P2P to nitrogen, which apparently does not exist. Why don't we have a nitrogen frequency? This one is... Oh, I guess I just never set the frequency on this end. And yeah, we want to make sure this is the input side, so I guess we'll set this as the nitrogen tank. Yeah, there isn't anything else in the base which generates as nitrogen. I think I was filling that manually. But in the future, there will be a few other things which take nitrogen, and we're going to allow it to take from the centrifuge. Eventually, we'll probably add a few more of these centrifuges as we expand this setup. So that is one of the key considerations when I was designing this thing, is to leave enough space for more machines down the line. It's a very difficult thing to plan out ahead of time, And sometimes you have to completely rebuild setups like what we're doing here. But hopefully I've left enough space in the future to make that seamless and easy to do. So the next 2 machines will be the coke ovens, which will be wall shared. So we'll need 2 machine controllers right here. Because the 2 machines are next to each other and they're sharing the middle slice, we should be able to put the input buses and hatches here, and they should share. So for the recipe, it's going to be fluid in and out, and then item in and out. So we'll do something like output bus, input bus here, fluid output, fluid input. That should work as long as we point things the right way. And then we'll also need energy hatch, which will go on the cable. Again, we're running everything at EV, and it's always tough to tell if these are actually plugged in. It doesn't look like they are, right? Make sure these are all connected. Next thing we'll need is a maintenance hatch for each one. We'll need a muffler hatch, and I think the rest is just going to be casings. Oh, you know what? We might not be able to put the input hatch here. I think the middle slice has to be heat-proof casings, right? And it has to go like this. So maybe I'm hoping we can put the hatches on the top. Let's find out. If not, then we'll have to separate things out. Let's see if this forms here. The fact that they change color is a good sign. Yes, it does. Perfect. Has problems, we need to do maintenance, but yeah, we have a completed multi-block here. Okay, so for this, we're going to get charcoal, right, from the wood tar. And the charcoal I want to be sent into a super chest, which is going to go right here. This should be the output bus. The nitrogen has to be sent into the input hatch, which we just placed on top here. So this again will be another P2P channel. Oh, we might not have enough cable here. We're 3 short, 2 short. Do I have any more? Nope. We're always short some stuff. Bind to nitrogen, that should fill the input hatch here. Right? Yes, it does. I hope that LV is big enough. I didn't count it, to be honest, especially if we're using batch mode, which I think we probably want to do. We might have to upgrade this to a bigger hatch later on. But the next thing we have to think about is the output, right, for wood tar. So normally what we do is we send all the fluids back to fluid storage and then send it off to where it needs to be. That way it's available for any other process. Things like nitrogen is used elsewhere. But wood tar, I'm not so sure we are going to use that anywhere else. Right, like pretty much its only purpose is to be distilled, either in the single blocks, which is not really relevant at this point in the game, or in the multi-block, which is what we intend to do with it. So because there's only one singular use for it, we're not going to send it back to fluid storage. We are still going to give it a fluid P2P though, and this one will be the input side for wood tar. And the reason we're using fluid P2P is because it has infinite transfer rates. So everything coming out of the output hatch will be sent into the distillation towers, which is the next multi-block we need to build. What are the chances we have enough casings here? I think I counted it out correctly. 1, 2, 3. 1 short? No way. No, wait. This isn't supposed to be here. That's supposed to be a controller. Okay, so we have exactly enough casings. We are missing 2 controllers here though. However, those we're going to take from the existing distillation towers up at the existing benzene supply. I didn't really want to take them until we had this one operational, but I think right now it's safe to do so. I think we should have enough benzene to... Yeah, we have quite a bit of benzene on backlog here, which is good. But yeah, either way, we're going to steal these distillation towers right here. Make sure we take the machine controller. So now this is basically... I can't wait to tear this down. Hopefully we get to do that today. And now you guys are probably thinking, well, what about the inputs? What about the logs for this? Because we do have a tree farm above there. Don't worry, we'll get onto that in a second. I have thought about that. But yeah, distillation towers right here. And that should form the multi-blocks, right? Yes, perfect. Okay, so these are 4 distillation towers. They might look a little bit funny. Normally these are 3x3, right? But they are being wall shared. So we have the distillation tower and then energy hatch behind that, which is now broken. Yeah, distillation tower, energy hatch behind that. They're all EV. And then we have 1 input hatch per 2 distillation towers. So this should be able to share. This one is EV, so this is definitely big enough. And then 5 outputs. This is going to be for the wood tar recipe. So we get benzene in the first, toluene 1,2-dimethylbenzene. Wrong circuit number. We want circuit 1, so it's going to be 1,2-dimethylbenzene. Creosote oil and phenol. Wait, actually it's left to right, top to bottom. So creosote oil is in the first. Benzene should be in the third one. So here. So to handle the outputs, we connected up fluid P2P and connected those back to the main fluid storage tanks corresponding with each chemical. Alright, so we still have some things to figure out with the multi-blocks and the redstone controls and whatnot, but let's move on with the inputs for this system. So as you guys know, we have the tree farm. This is right above the existing benzene system over here, and this used to feed down, I think it was an electrum item pipe, and this fed the pyrolyze ovens. It was powered by an LV gas turbine, and it went into a basic capacitor. I remember this. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, the farming station is still the fastest way for us to get logs. Outside of the tree growth simulator, which is not happening right now. This has received a significant nerf since Season 1. Yeah, it's all the field generator. Look at this, ZPM circuits. That ain't gonna happen. So in the meantime, we need to come up with some sort of alternative. Oh, look at this for a beautiful sunset. It's been a while since I've seen the sun. Honestly, yeah, I feel like we're inside that cave so often. Look at this. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we do need a way to farm logs, and this is really non-negotiable, right? Especially if we're going benzene. So I just decided to move the tree farm over here. It would have been nice to keep it in its original location, but it's here so that we can have easy access to the log output. So this lines up pretty much with our wiring tunnel down here, and this goes all the way down to the new section we just built. And this is only temporary. I made sure not to disturb the landscape too much. I think eventually we're going to terraform this whole place one day, but yeah, this is just meant as a temporary solution, just for us to be able to farm logs, but we're going to upgrade it while we're at it since we're moving it anyway. So we have pretty much the same setup under here, farming station, and that is connected to a turbo gas turbine. This is EV, which did not exist pre 2.3, but fortunately we can now use these things, and we're going to use an ender tank just because we can. We should be able to automatic output, yes. Very expensive use of an ender tank, but I mean, we could use fluid P2P up here, but yeah, we have these lying around because of the loot bags. I think it's worth pointing out that if we did have an ender chest, we would have considered putting it in IC2 crops, because you can get what's called the spruce bonsai, and these will grow in the crop sticks, and then we could have had the farm fully operational, but unfortunately that is not an option for us right now. Same with the quantum ring, by the way. A couple of you guys suggested in the comments again. The reason we're not using the quantum ring is because of power. That thing consumes like 1,000 RF per tick just passively, and we're gonna need 2 of them. So, or it might be 1,000 for 2 rings, but either way, it's a lot of power to run those things passively. And I just realized we're also missing a concrete block right here. I wonder how long that's been gone. But yeah, power. This is the whole reason we're actually upgrading benzene, right? So for now, we're going to use EV gas turbine into the farming station. And then I've also made up a new capacitor for this thing. We have the octadic capacitor, and there's also some item conduit extract speeds in here. These are just so expensive compared to Nomai Factory. Look at this. Electric piston. I mean, it shouldn't be anything for us at this point in the game. It's just still... It takes a while to craft all this stuff. Plus the item filter, which is raw carbon. This is the made in assembler with an autoclave, polyethylene. Yeah, this is all stuff we were intending to fix last episode before we got interrupted by the lack of power. So yeah, we have the item collectors being fed into chests, and that is going to be sent on blue channel. I think we'll give like 4 extraction speeds to these things. That should be enough, if not I'll give them some more. And this just picks up any excess that lands on the floor. So yeah, we'll switch out to the octadic capacitor in the farming station. I'm not quite sure why this isn't receiving any RF. It should be, right? Can we not power these? Oh. Well, that would certainly do it, right? Let's plug this in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's receiving power from the gas turbine now. And yeah, it should just be able to automatically farm the tree. We are going to have space for outputs, so I have a drawer controller down here, which is being inserted on blue, and then there's another item conduit being fed from the farming station back there. And again, this is only temporary, so it doesn't really matter what this looks like. 2 drawers, well, at least face them the same way. We'll make sure we void upgrade these as well, and lock the drawer. And then the whole reason we moved the farm over here is to have access to our applied energistic system. So I want to have a storage bus on the drawer controller. This will be high priority for spruce logs. We'll have to connect to a P2P tunnel, since this is on the subnet connection. And I think we're just going to connect this up to, where's my advanced memory card? There it is. I think we're going to connect this up to Benzene Southeast. We might as well, right? There should be some extra channels. And then plug in the storage bus. It should establish a connection here. Okay, this has come online. The storage bus is still offline though. It's taking its time. There we go. And make sure we lock the spruce sapling in here as well. Make sure it's chunk loaded, which I believe it is. And yeah, this is going to be our very temporary solution. Again, we don't like temporary solutions, but this is definitely temporary, right? This is out of the way. It's not going to interfere with anything. And it doesn't cost us anything extra to have it here. Only some more of our benzene supply. These things are not terribly efficient. It would have been more efficient to connect it to the power spine. Or maybe not because of cable loss. But yeah, I don't anticipate this being here very long. Famous last words. So now, if we check the terminal, we should see some logs filling up here. We should see some spruce wood in here. Now, I think we had some to begin with, but yeah, we are getting spruce wood now. Using the spruce wood, we should be able to connect that to the input of the coke ovens here, which is underneath. So we have an input bus. Ideally, it's going to be a stocking input bus eventually, once we have access to easier platinum. But for right now, we're just going to use a conveyor module set to import. Interface, this is going to stock spruce logs. We can hide from the terminal. We want also a storage bus. Do I have an extra one? I think I do. Yes, I do. Storage bus for the super chest, which is for the charcoal. That can go right here. So now the input bus should be full. Let's do maintenance on the coke ovens. And if we turn them up, let's do batch mode as well. This is where we find out if we have to upgrade the hatches or buses. If it doesn't start, yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah, let's upgrade the input and output hatch to at least HV, I guess. The buses should be okay though. Wow, okay, Gregtech, that is a bit in your face, that is. These things are way too loud, okay. Yeah, so I done some experimenting here and I tried a bunch of different input buses and hatches. I couldn't get it to run with batch mode. It seems that my understanding of this batch mode is not exactly the way I thought it would work. I think it can do up to 128 recipes in parallel, but I'm not sure it does any less than that. So we now have an MV output bus, we have an HV input bus, an IV input hatch, and an IV output hatch. And that is still not enough. So yeah, if you guys know exactly how the batch mode works, then let me know. But for now, we're just going to run it without batch mode, so it's just going to do one recipe at a time. We need to make sure we run circuit 10 in here as well. And also the multi-blocks making noise is as of 2.3. That is a new feature, if you can call it a feature. I think they're giving a lot more multi-blocks sound as well. Like the fusion reactor, I think that's getting a sound similar to Community Edition in 1.12. For now though, we are going to give it a muffler hatch. That is for sure. And if we turn these on, we should start seeing some wood tar in these distillation towers, right? And it shouldn't void any excess. We definitely do not want to void excess here. So when the wood tar fills up, because we're not giving it a buffer, when this output hatch fills, then the machine should just stop on its own. Although, why are we not getting any wood tar? Is it just that fast? Let's disconnect this. Yeah, the P2P is just that fast. Yeah, we are definitely getting wood tar here. We probably don't need to have this IV output hatch here anymore. The IV one, I think, holds 256 buckets, which is a lot of output. 252, and it stops. 256. Are these things stopping? I think so, right? Yeah, it's possible that it might have voided 1 or 2 buckets there, because the recipe is that fast. And we have 2 of these things sharing a hatch, but that's okay. The one thing we do not want to void, though, is benzene. That is for sure. So unlike the Gregtech++ multi-blocks, the Gregtech... the normal Gregtech machines will void if their output is full. So we definitely do not want to void benzene. The rest of these things I'm okay with just voiding. I mean, creosote oil isn't too valuable. It's useful, but not super valuable. Not enough that we want to stop benzene production, right? That's really the main thing we have to ask ourselves. Is any of these things worth stopping benzene production for? And I think the answer to that is no. Toluene we also make from chemistry. Toluene we make in these distillation towers here. Phenol we also make out of the distillation tower in front of us. And then 1,2-dimethyl benzene, the main thing we're going to do with this is electrolyze into hydrogen and carbon. Although we do also need it for phthalic acid. A little bit later, this is used in the advanced rocket fuels. And a few other processes, I don't remember exactly where. Is it this? Diphenyl isophthalate? There's no way I'm pronouncing that right. There's no way. Yeah, so we need it in a few different places, but the main thing we want to control these machines on is benzene. The cleanest way to do that is with the wireless fluid detector cover, this one. However, this does take an emitter at EV, and this takes some circuits. And then we also need the receiver as well, right? The wireless receiver, which also I'm sure takes some circuits. Yeah, it does. Having a look at our circuit count right now, we have 15 HVs, 20 LVs, 33 MVs. These are also MV circuits, 41 MV circuits. And for this point in the game, that is completely awful. That kind of makes me a little bit sad. I've slowly been chipping away at those our supply, and I kind of didn't want to see that number going down so much, but yeah. I have got some grind ahead of me right now to top up our supplies. I'm not going to go too crazy because we don't have auto-crafting, but I want to make a decent batch of these. And yeah, there's a few other things I'll clean up with the benzene system down there.
Sometimes I think they're right, honey. Sorry for the tears in your eyes. Hey, love, forgive me just one more try. Used to hide myself away in the night, looking for trouble and fights, looking for answers at the bottom of my glass. You found me lost in the night, looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on.
Oh yeah. Benzene OP. So yeah, we're still in the initial stages of testing. I'm still trying to get some stuff crafted, but I think we're ready for the first full-scale test. I'm actually really excited about this now. So so yeah, our objective here is to make applied energistics viable, right? We need to supply it enough power for it to sustain itself, and then also give us enough headroom to expand in the future in the next few episodes. So we want to connect it up to the turbines, but we still also want to rely on the Grandmaster Magic Energy Absorber, which used to sit right here and used to power the applied energistics system. We still want that to be the case, but as far as I'm aware, there's no way to do power priority input. So the next best thing is to just connect it up to our input to the battery system. This is the main battery which feeds all of the machines in the base. This is the green cable here we run to all the machinery. So this white cable here is the input from the turbines. On the other side, just for symmetry really, I've added another white IV cable. This goes down to a high amp transformer, although thinking about it, this doesn't actually need to be high amp. But this takes EV to IV, or transforming up. And this is going to take the power from the Grandmaster Magic Energy Absorber, with the Dragon Egg of course. And yeah, same as before, this thing just generates as a passive 1 amp of EV power, and joins the input to the battery system, which also receives its power from the turbines of course. So now how do we get the power from the battery system into the applied energistic system? Well, that is where this second green line here comes in. This is also a branch off from the main line. So this goes into an insane voltage transformer, transforms from LUV to IV, and then IV to EV, and then we send the power into a cable diode, 2 amps. I don't know if the diode is strictly necessary, but just to make sure applied energistics doesn't try to draw too many amps, we can restrict the amount of amps this cable receives with the diode. That goes into an energy acceptor and then just into some Fluix cable to power the controllers. And yeah, we're going to be rewiring this very soon. As soon as we can get auto-crafted AE components and wires and whatnot, this will all get a rewire for sure. Right now though, it does work, so we're going to keep it the way it is. And yeah, these slight tweaks to the power system should mean that we're able to sustain applied energistics. And we also now have mission accomplished for this episode. Let's see how much we're drawing by now. 1.6, yeah, so it did go up with the new devices we added today. So on the new additions, I did manage to get this room fully configured with the redstone controls. I built the processing array for the fluid extractors, or fluid extractor. This is currently singular. I know I still haven't crafted the rest of the machines, but things should be working here as we want them to. So the best way I believe to test the system out is just to empty the benzene buffer here. So we're at main fluid storage. This now has a wireless fluid detector cover. Let's also get rid of the ender tank, since this sends benzene from the old fluid buffer up there, from the old benzene system. So I want to make sure for the test it's only from the new machines we've built today. So I have an empty tank here. Let's empty this out. Yeah, as you can see, it is draining. That is probably to keep the turbines full. It's a little strange that it's only draining like 1 millibucket every few seconds though. I wonder why that is. Why is it... Where else is this going? I mean, the turbines are off right now, right? So all of these buffers should be full. Do we have like a tax on benzene? Where is this stuff going? I don't really understand what's consuming it, right? Unless there's a... Oh, I know exactly where it's going. It's powering the clean room, right? Because this takes passive... Yeah, that's right. The controller is always on pretty much to maintain efficiency. And this is still on some basic gas turbines. So I bet it's this burning the benzene slowly. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. Alright, so we'll empty the benzene tank. We should see this instantly fill up, pretty much. Look at the rate of benzene. That is awesome. That is awesome. Okay. It's going to slow down eventually because the industrial coke ovens are slower. Look at this, already 50 buckets. That's crazy good. Alright, let's check out what's going on with the machines here. Okay, so Centrifuge is off. This is still off, which is a bit curious. Industrial coke ovens are on, and all 4 distillation towers should be on. Yes, they are. Oh, and there goes the Centrifuge. We must have run out of, or passed the threshold for nitrogen. Okay, so how do I explain what's going on here? There's a mix of wireless redstone signals. So let's start with the distillation towers here, right? We wanted to control this with benzene. So over here at the main buffer for benzene, we have a wireless fluid detector cover. Anytime this is below 7 million, it sends a wireless redstone signal on frequency 575. The receivers of that signal of 575 are on the maintenance hatches, which are deliberately placed next to the distillation tower machine controllers. So right here on this cover here is the receiver, 575 frequency. Next to that is the machine controller. We're doing redstone on, machine on. We need a t-shirt with that on it, by the way. One of you guys mentioned in the comments. That's awesome. Maybe one day, I don't know. It is our golden rule after all, right? So yeah, it's the same on all of these. We have 575 receiving the frequency, and that turns the distillation tower on. So that should mean there's always somewhere for the benzene to go. And we turn them off before it's full, right? The tank is full at 8 million. It turns off at 7 million. For the coke ovens, we seen this earlier actually. This should just turn off on its own whenever the wood tar fills up back here. For the centrifuge, we also have a wireless receiver here on signal 82, frequency 82. And again, this makes us nitrogen and oxygen. The centrifuge will turn on if we have below, I think this is the nitrogen tank right here. Yeah, below 38 million. This sends a signal to 82. Yeah, so if we have low amounts of nitrogen, then the centrifuge will turn on and top up our supplies. This one, unlike the coke ovens though, we do use void excess. So we never want to void nitrogen, but we do want to void the excess oxygen, which is why we're just using the void excess, because that is not the default behavior unlike the distillation towers, but we still of course control it with the wireless receiver here. And then this one is for the fluid extractors, and this fluid extracts charcoal into more wood tar and some ashes. The ashes go into a super chest down here, and the wood tar goes into its output hatch here. There is a kind of a flaw with this though, and it's something I'm not sure how to address, in that I'm not sure how to prioritize it using wood tar first. It may mean that we have to switch over from fluid P2P to storage buses, and we'll supply the wood tar via an interface. Might be a little bit difficult to explain right now, but we'll address that in a future episode. For now, it's only the one fluid extractor, so we're not missing much wood tar from this. I did put a pump on this to try to speed it up, basically, to force the fluid out. But yeah, for this episode, I'm gonna leave it as is, and we're just gonna rely on the wood tar that we get directly from the coke ovens, and the charcoal will just be here. There's also a void excess mode on the super chest, by the way, which I did enable. But yeah, it seems to be working, right? I mean, apart from that little minor thing with the processing array over there. So it should stop when this reaches 7 million. It's now at 650 buckets. Let's fill the tank again. Here. And the machines down here should have stopped. Right? Yes, perfection. So yeah, I'd say this is a great start to our benzene system. And of course, it's expandable. We'll eventually add more distillation towers. We'll eventually add, I was thinking ashes processing. However, I think for that, we're going to place it in the passive room. I don't know what to call this room. The one that we handle all the crops. Things like ashes processing we'll probably put here. But that is the beauty of applied energistics. You can really have things anywhere, so long as your ME network is piped to that location. But there is one more thing we have to address this episode, the old benzene system. What are we going to do with this thing? I really thought we were going to tear this down, but honestly, after thinking about it some more, what does this actually cost us to have here? I mean, this thing is fully self-contained, it's already built, and to be honest, I mean, we could disassemble a lot of this, that would be quite valuable, and it's debatable whether that is the correct choice or not. However, I think I've decided that we're just going to make full use of this thing, and we might as well just supplement our new system with the old. So let's craft ourselves a second farming station. Oh yeah, and also the 2 distillation towers which we stole. We'll have to replace these things. Oh, of course we can. Circuits? Yeah, circuits and HV pumps. We should have some more fluid pipe here, right? Yes, perfect. So you might also be thinking, there is also the need for an unbreakable axe as well, right? Well, I took care of that as well. I made us a fresh lumber axe, all thaumium except for the large plate, which is obsidian. And as of 2.3, there's also the reinforcement modifiers, which have been backported from I think the 1.12 version. So we can pour steel over obsidian and we get those. We need to give this lumber axe 10 levels of reinforced to make it unbreakable. So we can level the axe once just by chopping some trees. We get a few modifiers because of the thaumic trait from making the tool out of thaumium. And then we can do the gold and diamond to give it +1 modifier and another level of reinforced. Block of diamond and the notch apple. And then into the nether to kill a wither. And the nether star allows us to make it fully unbreakable. So yeah, while we wait on some circuits, I think we should just be able to plug this in. Let's give it the thaumium lumber axe. Oh wow, that was quick. We need to give it a capacitor. I think it was double layer in here before, right? That should give it the same range as it had before. And yeah, sustainable with just the LV gas turbine underneath here. We're also going to have to give them the item collectors. I had to craft another batch of these things, that took a while. I'm not even going to show you the recipe for this. I mean, in some of the IV machines it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad this time around. Not as bad as the first time anyway. Alright, make sure the range is maxed out. That should collect any excess drops. And yeah, we have our second, well, the original benzene system back online. This thing is going crazy now. As you can see with the old one, well, you can't see now because it is actually working. I've logged in a few times over the last few hours, and this thing had just completely stopped, and I'm not sure exactly why that was. I have a feeling it's a little bit too close to this mountainside, so I may move it over a chunk. We'll see if the buffer ever ends up empty. But I did add a few more drawer upgrades in here, so yeah, we have plenty of wood. We have plenty of logs. Circuits are also finished. There's 2 more distillation towers. We'll have to grab some machine controllers, which we took off the previous ones. I think I left them in here, right? Yes. And we should just be able to place these down and plug them in. Give it the machine controller. Redstone on, machine on, safe mode. And let's do the maintenance again. Running fine. And running fine. Perfect. Oh, we're missing a tank there as well. Let's use this one. So was setting this up again worth it? Well, I think it was. I mean, we're not losing anything putting this back online. And this does have the automatic ash processing here. The old benzene system is really out of the way. I'm not planning on expanding this way anytime soon. I think the future expansion is going to be to the north. Let's remember to put this ender chest back. Or ender tank back. I wish we had an ender chest. And you know what? We're also missing fluid detector covers on the 2 new tanks and fluid storage for creosote oil and 1,2-dimethyl benzene, which is something eventually we'll get around to processing. Make good use of the copy-paste tool here as well. Nice. And with that, I think this is a pretty good point to wrap up the episode. I had a lot of fun putting this together. Next episode, we're going to look at some automation. I hope. Assuming we have the resources, it's going to be a lot of crafting. I didn't finish crafting all those circuits, but we did make a few stacks of circuit boards, so the rest shouldn't be too bad to make. We're going to find the full extent of the damage next episode though. But yeah, today we got mission accomplished, and yeah, I'm really excited to get on with the automation now. Nothing can stop us at this point. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode of New Horizons.